How's your week been?
Awesome. Awesome.
It's better right now at the moment.
Best week ever.
Best week ever. Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Yes.
I got to tell you, every single minister, spiritual leader, rabbi, imam, whatever, was sitting in his or her little abode on Wednesday thinking, what the hell did I say on Sunday? I'm a member of that club, I know these things. So, as I reflected on what I was going to say today, as we sit here in our series on gratitude and on thankfulness, the events of Tuesday's election are still, as we could tell from our prayer time, so fresh, so present, so on our hearts, so right here. And I also thought about our talk last week, where I talked about how our lives achieve spiritual and emotional balance through the practice, the daily practice of gratitude. And so as we walked out of here last week, I know we're thinking gratitude, this is great. I'm going to practice this. I'm going to practice living daily in gratitude. And I'm just going to take little baby steps, because we're just starting. And you're taking your little gratitude baby steps, and then we have Tuesday. And you get like, wham! What does it they say? The universe sends you lessons? Welcome to day one of our lessons. And hey, you know, we're all, however you voted, don't care. We are in a nation, we are in families, we are in a community that is disrupted, is divided, is unsure, is fearful, is victorious, is so many things. The one thing I do know, as we all sit here, as we all move forward, is that things are complex. Things are confusing and our emotions are complex. We have people who are grateful. It's easy to be grateful if you won. We have people who are grateful and who are happy. We have people who are depressed and fearful and anxious. And then we have a whole bunch of people in between. And the one thing I do know is that as a nation, as families, as communities, we need to figure out a way to move forward. We just do, because we are living energy beings and we move forward and we got to do it together. And so the question on all our hearts is, how do we do that? Even if we're not really feeling all that grateful today, some of us. Would you agree? There's just a spectrum of emotions. I made a joke with somebody a couple days ago that I almost labeled this talk, can't I be grateful next month? Do I have to be grateful now? Really? You know, sometimes somebody expressed it to me this way. We are human beings and we are divine beings. And sometimes our humanity kind of puts its thumb on the scale. And we sometimes feel a whole lot more human than we do at other times. And a great many of us have been feeling that right now. Because I look around and I see pain and I see confusion and I see gladness and hope as well. And we also have to honor that. But I also see dysfunction and fear. And you can get on the internet and see folks protesting across the country. And that is an energy that is out there that we need to figure out what to do with it and how to move forward together. How do we get from here to where we are going together? Because if we know anything, we have to do it together. Even though right now it doesn't seem like we can do much together. So, it's been an amazing 4 days. And yes, can you believe it? It's only been 4 days. I mean, think about that. Emotional extremes and not a whole lot of common ground. But I think we can move forward and find common ground. I think we can. And I think you folks out there know that we can. We will never agree on all of the issues facing us. That's not even what we're looking for. In a democracy like ours, free and open debate is the best way that we can address the solutions that raise us all up. That is the way we get politically from here to there. Open, honest debate. As Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. And I think that's true. So, let me give you just an example of how this can work. Many of you know that we have started our Community Circles program, and we had a meeting last Wednesday, which is when we have them from 7 to 8:15, and we devoted that time to talking about the election, because as you can imagine, things were still very raw. Now, It was a wonderful healing time. It was a wonderful time. And I will tell you, we had folks in that group who voted for Hillary Clinton. We had folks who voted for Donald Trump. We had folks who voted for third-party candidates. We had folks who didn't vote at all because they just couldn't face it. They didn't want to. And yet, out of that, and thank God we had that diversity there, because that is who we are. That is who we are as a nation. And we accepted each other, we loved each other, we listened, we shared, and we came away feeling that there was a way forward for all of us together. Everybody was respected and everybody was heard. And I came away thinking, well, those are the conversations we need to have around our country. Those are the conversations that we need to have nationally. Desmond Tutu and his daughter Mfo Tutu wrote, "It seems there is no end to the creative ways we humans can find to hurt each other, and no end to the reasons we feel justified in doing so. There is also no end to the human capacity for healing. In each of us, there is an innate ability to create joy out of suffering, to find hope in the most hopeless of situations, and to heal any relationships in need of healing." So sometimes we can get on the news and we can look around and say, my God, there is indeed no limit to our ability to hurt each other, to inflict pain, intentionally or even unintentionally, to do harm and to disrupt each other. Out of fear, we try to inflict our pain on each other, and we often succeed. Our challenge in the days ahead is for all of us to look past fear, to look past small thinking, and to move towards healing and reconciliation and connection. And you can see there are people who are doing it. I read on the news the other day, one thing I've started doing is reading newspapers around the country, and I read of a lady in Nashville, a single mother who was walking past a mosque, and she started thinking that maybe the folks in there were feeling a little nervous. And so she and her son got a piece of chalk, and they just wrote some nice messages on the sidewalk. "You are welcome here. We love you. We're glad you're here." And it grew. They left the chalk there, and there were 30 and 40 people going by and writing messages. "We are so glad you're here. We're on your side. We're on your side. We love you here. Thank you for being here." Little things like that. Little things send a message of love and connection and hope, and you don't have to do it on a huge or a grand scale. We can all do little things. Edmund Burke said that nobody can make a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. We can all do a little. The notion that we can't change the world, that I, Melanie, or you cannot change the world, is a really bad excuse for sitting this out, for sitting on the sidewalk, or sitting on the sidelines. It just doesn't work. All of us must continue to make our voices known, to let those in power know what we believe to be right, and not to stand by. I am all in favor of healing and reconciliation. We are here at One World. We are a place where we value love and connection and caring and acceptance and tolerance and love. That is who we are. But it does not mean that we sit down and do nothing. When we hear voices of division and hatred and racism and misogyny, we are empowered to go forward and speak our truth, because love is love in action. It's not you sitting saying, "I hope things get better." If you have it in you to get up and say, "This is not who we are." We get on the news right now and we see people out with signs and protesting, and they're nonviolent. They have every right to do that. They are making their voices heard, and they are letting it be known that this is not a place where we accept the statements that were made on the campaign trail, because that is not who we all are. We are better than that. We do not accept the racism and the discrimination and the hatred, and not just those who voted for Hillary Clinton or a third-party candidate. Millions who voted for Donald Trump don't accept it. They didn't vote for him because that's who they are. Millions voted for him because they want their jobs back, because they want to be able to walk down Main Street and not see things shuttered up, because they want their kids to have some opportunity. We have to honor that, because that's who America is. one of the things that this has said for me, and I'm being just really candid here, is that this has shown me how many out there feel forgotten and feel that the opportunity of America has gone right by them. And those are voices I think we need to honor and lift up as we lift ourselves up. The voices of hatred and discrimination and misogyny, no. We can all address those, and even those who voted for our president-elect are standing to oppose those voices, because that's just not who we are. There is a lot of work to be done. We have fought in this nation very long and very hard for the inclusive country that we have become, that we have in our hearts that we are. And that is a vision that is going to carry on. And it's heartening to see in how many hearts and minds that vision persists. I mean, I get on the news and I see things like kids in elementary schools chanting, "Build a wall." I think you probably all saw that on the news. And the outrage and the comments that have been raised because of that, of the millions of people who realize, no, that's not who we are. And it's a wake-up call to join together, to come together, to teach our kids that we are better than that, as we all make an effort to move forward together. I've read stories of kids who are in tears because they think their friends are going to be deported, or kids who are afraid to go to school because they're Muslim. It's in all our hearts, and it's in all our best interest to do what we can just to show that that is not who we are. With our prayers, with our energy, with our voices, and with our actions. It was Martin Buber who said that God is in the connection between souls when he created his image of I, thou. That God is in the connection between you and me, between your heart and my heart when we speak. So even though we can't perhaps get out and change the world, we can write a message on a sidewalk. We can talk to somebody. We can smile at somebody, because that is where God is found. And as our energy moves into doing that, remember I talked a while back about global consciousness? Every act of caring and connection we put out there increases the global stock of love and caring and connection, and diminishes the global energy of violence and fear and division. Because, as we know, Dr. King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And we are so privileged to be able to be the voices of love, the voices of caring and connection and healing. Voices with a backbone, because we can go out and stand for what we know to be true. The voice of love is the strongest voice there is. It is so much more powerful than the voice of fear and division. I remember reading during World War II, Winston Churchill was talking about the dictators that were popping up across Europe. And he talked about all those great men in their rooms with their police and their guards and their truncheons. What do they worry about? What do they fear? They fear the power of an idea. A little tiny mouse, is how he put it, creeps in the room, a little mouse of an idea, and it throws all those great potentates into panic. So what is the little mouse of an idea we put out there? All of us. The idea of love and acceptance and tolerance. There is nothing like the power of an idea. And sometimes we think that that idea has been put under a barrel, it's been darkened, we don't even see where its light shines, but it shines right here, and it will never go out. And that is our privilege to go out there and be it, all of us, because that is what we all believe in. It's at times like this, even when it's hard, that the energy of compassion and understanding is most needed, even when it's not easy to give. When it's easy to give, it's easy to give. And now we have to really just call upon our deepest wisdom, our greatest strength, and make that effort to stand up and keep giving it, even if we don't feel like we can do it today. One of the things this election has done for me is it's made me think how I react. We heard folks earlier talking about how they were struggling. I've been struggling. I have done things that I have said things that I regard as very uncharitable. I'm not going to repeat them. But there are those out there who know what they are. And so it has given me cause to think, what is it about me that thinks that? What little fear is it in me that makes me have that reaction? It has caused me to just strap it on and grow. One of the things we need to do is look at our reactions and learn from them and grow from them. Diane Burke is a spiritual counselor, psychotherapist, and interfaith minister in New York. She's also the head and the dean of the seminary that Reverend Chris and I graduated from, and that Linda is attending One Spirit Interfaith Seminary. She wrote a book called The Gentle Smile. And if you knew Diane Burke, you would know that was the perfect title. She is the most gentle and yet strong and powerful and spiritual person I know, while at the same time projecting love and transparency and caring. So she wrote a book called The Gentle Smile. The Gentle Smile. And she wrote about coming to terms with adversity and challenge and difficulty. And, you know, sometimes when I'm writing talks, I just kind of look at my library and I think, what should I pull out? Yo, there it is. You know, really Spirit guides you to these things, you know, so I just pulled out, Jeannie knows that's true. And so I just pulled out this book, and she writes about coming to terms with profoundly difficult things. She has a chapter she calls The Way of Choosing Blessing. Okay, now many of us right now don't want to choose blessing. We may want to go out and hold up a sign. Fine, do it. But at some point, we're going to have to move forward and choose to come together. We're going to have to choose to be the blessing, to put that blessing into action. And she gives some steps for how we can engage in the process of choosing blessing. The first thing she said, which I loved, is be honest about how you feel and what you are really telling yourself. Be honest about how you feel and what you are really telling yourself. And this was good for me, because I spent several days feeling really mad. I just did. And so I went to my wife and I said, I'm feeling really mad. And she said, like, welcome to the human race. You know? You're not going to wake up, if you are disappointed in this election, as many are, you're not going to wake up on Wednesday and be the Buddha. It ain't going to happen. You're going to go through a series of emotions, and all of us did. Even those who voted for Trump are going to go through feelings of what next. They're going to go through feelings of how do we pull together. They're going to look at their friends and they're going to say, my friends are really sad. How do I show them I still love them and we want to move together, and we are all part of the same human family, because we all are. We are very divided, but I think there is more that unites us than divides us. And those are the conversations we need to have. And those are the ties we need to strengthen. The first step is being honest about how you feel and what you're telling yourself. We have to let ourselves feel what we feel without judgment, and we have to be aware of where our fear is coming from. What am I scared of? Okay, so I'm a gay person. Am I scared that all gay people are going to be thrown out of the country? That's not likely. So identify what it is you are scared of, so at least you know what we're talking about, right? Instead of just letting the monkey mind run around with just random fears that you can't even identify. Be clear. What do we do here? We look, see, we tell the truth. This is the first step. We look, we see, we tell the truth. The second step, she says, is recognize there is a price you pay for continuing to hold on to those feelings, thoughts, and definitions of the situation. She says that vinegar corrodes the vessel in which it is held. So yes, many may be angry, many may be fearful, many may be depressed and dread the future. Those are natural feelings, but having said that, we have to feel a way to turn those feelings into something positive. A Course in Miracles teaches that a miracle is a shift in perception from fear to love. We have to figure out, many who are scared and who are unsure, how to shift that perception from fear into the power of love. Because it is the power of love that is going to move us forward. There is no power like it. That is where we need to go. That way, we all become the miracle. We all become the miracle workers in making this nation bind itself up, making our communities bind themselves up, making it so that we can be together again. The third step, she says, is set the goal of healing. We need to know that there is a healing coming, and we make that our goal.